The New Horizon traveled through space for 2 weeks. Jake Morrison sat in his captain's chair and watched the stars move past. He had not slept well since meeting the aliens. Every time he closed his eyes, he thought about Elder Corvash's words. Humanity had fought in a galactic war. They had won but lost everything. "Captain, we are receiving a message from Earth," said Maria Santos. "Put it through." The screen showed Admiral William Blake, the head of Earth Space Command. He looked tired and worried. "Captain Morrison, your report has caused quite a stir here on Earth. The President wants to know more about these aliens and this quarantine." Jake stood up. "Admiral, I told you everything I know. We found aliens. They say Earth was quarantined 50,000 years ago. They say humanity fought in some kind of war. And you believe them? I don't know what to believe. But their technology is far beyond ours. They could have destroyed us easily, but they didn't. They seem more scared than hostile." Admiral Blake nodded slowly. "Captain, you need to know something. After receiving your report, we checked our oldest historical records. We found some strange things." "What kind of things?" "Cave paintings from around the world, all showing the same images. Humans fighting alongside strange creatures against something dark. We always thought they were just myths." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. "What else?" "We found metal objects buried deep in the ice in Antarctica. The metal is not from Earth. It's some kind of alloy we have never seen before. And Captain, these objects are exactly 50,000 years old." Lisa Grant looked up from her station. "Admiral, this could be proof. Proof that the aliens are telling the truth. Maybe, but we need to know more. Captain Morrison, I want you to return to the alien system. Make contact again. Learn everything you can." Jake nodded. "Yes, sir. We are already heading back there." The transmission ended. Jake turned to his crew. "You heard the Admiral. We are going back." Alex Rodriguez checked his instruments. "Captain, we will reach the Kepler 442 system in 3 days." "Good, Lisa. I want you to prepare questions. Everything we need to know about this war, about the quarantine, about everything." Lisa nodded. "Already working on it, Captain." 3 days later, the New Horizon arrived back at the alien system. The massive rings around the planet were still. There, still blinking with lights. But now there were more ships waiting for them. "Captain, I count 50 alien vessels," said Alex. "They are much bigger than the ones we saw before." Jake looked at the main screen. The ships were beautiful but intimidating. Each one was the size of a city. They moved in perfect formation around the New Horizon. "Captain, we are receiving a PACA." "Transmission," said Maria. "Put it through." Elder Corvash appeared on the screen. Behind him, Jake could see a massive chamber filled with different alien species. Some looked like humans. Others were very different. "Captain Morrison, welcome back. I'm glad you returned. There is much you need to know. We are ready to listen, Elder Corvash." "Good. But first, I must show you something. Something that will help you understand why the quarantine was necessary." The screen changed. Now it showed a recording of space. But this was not normal space. The stars were different colors. The planets looked wrong. "This is a recording from 50,000 years ago," Elder Corvash's voice said. "This is what your galaxy looked like during the war." Jake watched in horror as the recording showed planets being consumed by something dark. The darkness moved like liquid. It flowed from planet to planet, leaving dead worlds behind. "What is that thing?" Lisa asked. "Those are the Devourers. They are not like any life form, you know. They are pure hunger. They consume entire civilizations and add their knowledge to their own. The more they eat, the stronger they become." The recording changed again. Now it showed battles in space. Alien. Ships fought against creatures made of shadow and light. The shadow creatures were winning. "The war lasted for 1,000 years," Elder Corvash continued. "Millions of worlds were consumed. billions of beings died. The Devourers seemed unstoppable. But they were stopped, Jake said. You said humanity helped stop them. Yes, but you must understand, Captain. Every species that fought the Devourers was eventually consumed. The Devourers could enter their minds, take control of their bodies, turn them into weapons. Entire fleets would switch sides in the middle of battles. The recording showed exactly that. Alien ships suddenly turning to attack their own allies. Alien soldiers fighting their own people. Every species except one, Elder Corvash said. Jake felt his heart beat faster. Humans. Yes, humans were different. The Devourers could not control human minds. They could not consume human souls. We never understood why. But humans could fight the Devourers without fear of being turned. The recording changed again. Now it showed human soldiers fighting alongside aliens. The humans wore strange armor that glowed with light. They carried weapons that fired beams of energy. Your ancestors were brave beyond measure, Elder Corvash said. They fought battles that other species could not fight. They went to places that other species could not go. Jake watched his ancestors fighting impossible odds. What happened to them? The final battle was fought in the center of the galaxy. The Devourers had consumed most of the core worlds. If they took the center, they would have unlimited power. The war would be lost. The recording showed a massive space station surrounded by millions of ships. Human and alien forces fought side by side against an endless tide of shadow creatures. The human commander was a woman named Helen Brooks. She realized that the only way to stop the Devourers was to trap them in another dimension. But someone would have to stay behind to maintain the seal. Jake watched as human ships moved into formation. Around the space station, she sacrificed herself. She sacrificed her entire fleet. 10,000 human ships, 500,000 human soldiers. They created a dimensional prison and locked the Devourers inside. But the effort destroyed human civilization. The recording showed the aftermath. The space station exploded in a flash of light. The shadow creatures were pulled into a tier in space. Then the tier closed and they were gone. The surviving humans were scattered across the galaxy. Most were sent back to Earth, but they had lost everything. Their technology, their history, their advanced civilization. They became primitive again. Lisa was crying as she watched the recording. They saved everyone and lost everything. Yes, the Galactic Council decided to let humanity rebuild slowly. We placed Earth under quarantine to protect you. We thought it was better if you forgot the war. We thought it was better if you lived in peace. Jake felt anger rising in his chest. You had no right to make that choice for us. Perhaps not. But we thought we were protecting you. We thought the Devourers were gone forever. Alex looked up from his instruments. But they're not gone, are they? Elder Corvash's expression became grave. No, the dimensional prison is failing. After 50,000 years, the seals are breaking. The Devourers are starting to escape. How? Do you know? Jake asked. 3 worlds have gone dark in the Outer Rim. We sent ships to investigate. The ships never returned. Then we sent probe drones. The probes showed us planets stripped of all life, the same signature as Devourer attacks. The bridge was silent for a moment. Everyone absorbed the terrible news. What do you want from us? Jake asked. We need humanity's help again. You are the only species that can fight the Devourers without being consumed. But there is a problem. What? Problem? Modern humans are not the same as your ancestors. You have no memory of the war. You have no knowledge of the weapons or tactics used. You don't even know that you have the resistance. Jake thought about this. But we still have the resistance. We believe so. Our scientists have studied your people from a distance. The genetic markers are still there, but we need to be sure. We need to test it. Lisa stepped forward. How do we test it? There is a facility in this system. It contains captured Devourer essence. Very small amounts, but enough to test human resistance. If modern humans still have the immunity, we will know. Jake looked at his crew. They all looked scared but determined. And if we don't have the immunity? Elder Corvash was quiet for a long moment. Then the galaxy will fall to the devourers. Every world will be consumed. Every species will die. And this time, there will be no one left to stop them. Jake sat down in his chair. The weight of responsibility was crushing. When do we start the test? Now, Captain, we have prepared a testing facility. You and your crew will be the first modern humans to face the devourers in 50,000 years. The screen went black. Jake looked around at his crew. They were, all watching him, waiting for his decision. Well, he said quietly, I guess we're about to find out what we're really made of. Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the New Horizon and watched the stars. He had been captain of this ship for 3 years now. Today was different. Today they would reach a new world that no human had ever seen before. The year was 2387. Humans had finally built ships that could travel between stars. It took them 50 years to build the engines. It took another 20 years to test them. Jake was one of the first captains chosen to explore beyond Earth's solar system. Captain, we are approaching the Kepler 442 system, said Alex Rodriguez. From his station, Alex was the tactical officer. He was a good soldier and an even better friend. They had served together for 10 years. How long until we arrive? Jake asked. 2 hours, sir. Jake nodded. He walked over to where Dr. Lisa Grant was working. Lisa was their science officer. She studied alien life forms. Well, she studied what they thought alien life might look like. No human had ever met an alien before. Lisa, are you ready for this? Jake asked. Lisa looked up from her computer screen. Her eyes were bright with excitement. I have been ready my whole life. Do you think we will find anything? I hope so. Earth spent a lot of money sending us out here. The New Horizon was not a big ship. It had a crew of only 12 people, but it was fast and it was strong. It could travel between stars in weeks instead of years. The scientists back on Earth said this was impossible just 50 years ago. Jake walked back to his captain's chair. He thought about his family back on Earth, his wife Sarah and his 2 children. They would not see him for 3 years. That was how long this mission would take. Captain, I'm picking up something strange, said Alex. What kind of strange? There are structures around the 4th planet. They look artificial. Jake felt his heart beat faster. Are you sure? Yes, sir. And Captain, these structures are big, really big. Lisa jumped up from her station. Can we see them? Putting it on the main screen now. Alex said. The screen lit up with an image of a planet. It was blue and green like Earth, but around the planet were massive metal rings. The rings were so big they could be seen from space. Each ring was covered with lights that blinked in patterns. My God, Lisa whispered. Those are space stations. Someone built space stations around that entire planet. Jake stared at the screen. How big are those rings? Alex checked his instruments. Each ring is about 10,000 kilometers across, and there are 5 rings total. The bridge was quiet for a moment. Everyone stared at the impossible sight. Humans had never built anything even close to this size. Captain, I am detecting ships, said Alex. Multiple ships heading our way. Are they hostile? I don't know. They are not firing weapons, but they are moving fast. Jake sat down in his chair. All hands to battle stations. But do not charge. Weapons. We are not here to fight. The crew moved quickly to their positions. Jake watched the main screen as alien ships approached. The ships were beautiful. They looked like they were made of crystal and light. They moved through space like dancers. Captain, they are sending us a message, said the communications officer, Maria Santos. Put it through. The main screen changed. Now it showed the face of an alien. The creature looked almost human, but with blue skin and large eyes. It had no hair, but small crystals grew from its head like a crown. When the alien spoke, the computer translated its words into English. Unknown vessel, please identify yourselves. How did you escape the quarantine zone? Jake stood up. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earthship New Horizon. What quarantine zone? The alien's large eyes became even larger. Earth? You said Earth? This is impossible. Earth has been quarantined for 50,000 years. I don't understand. What do you mean quarantined? The alien looked very worried. Please remain where you are. Do not move your ship. I must contact the council immediately. The screen went black. Jake looked at Alex. What just happened? I think we found more than we were looking for, Alex said. Lisa was checking her instruments. Captain, I am scanning the alien ships. Their technology is far beyond ours. Those ships could destroy us without effort. But they haven't attacked us, Jake said. They seem more surprised than hostile. Maria spoke from her station. Captain, more ships are arriving. A lot more ships. Jake looked at the main screen. Dozens of alien ships were appearing around them. Some were small like fighters. Others were massive like cities in space. All of them surrounded the New Horizon. Captain, I am receiving another message, Maria said. Put it through. This time a different alien appeared on screen. This one was tall and thin with silver skin. It wore robes that seemed to move like liquid. I am Elder Corvash of the Galactic Council. You claim to be from Earth. This is very serious. Earth was placed under strict quarantine 50,000 years ago. No ship was ever supposed to leave that system. Jake felt confusion and fear. Elder Corvash, I don't understand. Why was Earth quarantined? We have never met any aliens before today. That was the point of the quarantine. Your species was never supposed to achieve space travel. The Council has watched Earth for 50,000 years to make sure humans stayed on their planet. But why? Lisa called out from her station. Elder Corvash looked sad. Because your species is dangerous. Not dangerous to us, but dangerous to something else. Something that nearly destroyed all life in the galaxy long ago. Jake felt sick. What are you talking about? Captain Morrison, your ancestors fought in a war that almost ended everything. They were heroes. But they were also the only ones who could fight the enemy. When the war ended, we thought it was safer to let humanity forget. We thought it was safer to keep you isolated. Alex checked his instruments. Captain, more alien ships are arriving. I count over 100 now, Elder Corvash continued speaking. But now you are here. Now you have the technology to travel between stars. This changes everything. Why? Jake asked. Because the enemy is returning. The seals that held them back are breaking. And according to our oldest records, humans are the only ones who can stop them. Jake sat down hard in his chair. What enemy? What seals? Captain Morrison, 50,000 years ago, your people helped us fight creatures called the Devourers. They consume entire civilizations. They turn planets into dead worlds. The war almost destroyed the galaxy. Lisa's voice was quiet. What happened to our ancestors? They won the war. But the cost was terrible. Human civilization was destroyed. Your people were scattered across Earth like primitive tribes. We thought it was better to let you rebuild slowly. We thought it was better to keep you safe. Jake looked around at his crew. They all looked as confused and scared as he felt. Elder Corvash, if this enemy is so dangerous, why didn't you ask for our help? Because we hoped we would never need it. Because we hoped the seals would hold forever. But they are not holding. 3 worlds in the Outer Rim have gone dark in the last year. The Devourers are breaking free. The bridge was silent. Jake tried to understand what he was hearing. Humanity had fought in a galactic war. They had won, but lost everything. Now the enemy was coming back. What do you want from us? Jake asked. Elder Corvash looked directly at him. Captain Morrison, we need you to return to Earth. We need you. To tell your people the truth. Because ready or not, humanity is about to join the galactic community again. And this time, the fate of every living thing in the galaxy depends on what humans choose to do. The screen went black again. Jake stared at it for a long moment. Then he turned to his crew. "Plot a course back to Earth," he said quietly. "Maximum speed." The artificial star floated in the darkness between human space and the consumed zone. It was the size of a small moon, its surface covered in thousands of quantum field generators that pulsed with soft blue light. Around it, the human fleet maintained a careful distance, ready to retreat if something went wrong. Commander Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UE's horizon, watching the final preparations. Every ship in the fleet had contributed something to this moment. Materials, personnel, expertise, hope. Now they would find out if it was enough. "All ships report ready, sir," Lieutenant Ben Carter announced from his communications station. "Tom, what's the status on the artificial star?" Jake asked. Engineer Tom Bradley looked up from his control console. "All systems are green. The quantum field generators are synchronized and stable. We're ready to begin the activation sequence." Dr. Lisa Harper worked frantically at her science station, monitoring the energy readings from the crystalline beings. "The entities are definitely aware of our presence. I'm detecting increased activity throughout their network. They're curious about what we're doing." "Let's hope they stay curious long enough," Jake said. "Then, open a channel to the fleet." "Channel open, sir." Jake took a deep breath. He knew that billions of people across human space were listening to this moment. The fate of their species rested on the next few hours. "This is Commander Morrison to all ships. Today we face an enemy unlike any in human history. They are ancient, powerful, and they believe we are helpless. They are about to learn that humans never give up without a fight. We may not have their technology or their power, but we have something they don't understand. We have each other. Operation Lighthouse begins now." The fleet responded with a chorus of acknowledgments. Jake could hear the determination in every voice. These were volunteers, people who had chosen to be here despite knowing the risks. "Tom, begin the activation sequence." Bradley's hands moved across his controls. On the view screen, the artificial star began to glow brighter. The quantum field generators increased their output, creating waves of energy that rippled through space. "Phase 1 complete," Tom reported. "The star is generating the base energy signature, beginning quantum modulation." Lisa watched her instruments as the artificial star's energy pattern shifted. "It's working. The quantum signature is matching our theoretical models. The crystalline beings are definitely taking notice. On the long-range sensors, they could see the response." Crystalline entities throughout the consumed zone were turning toward the artificial star. Their energy patterns changed from the steady rhythm of feeding to something more urgent. "They're coming," Lisa said. "Hundreds of them, converging on our position." "How long before they arrive?" Jake asked. "At their current speed, maybe 2 hours. Tom, can we complete the sequence before they get here?" "It's going to be close. The quantum modulation process takes time. I can't rush it without risking a cascade failure." Jake nodded. They had known this would be a race against time. "All ships, maintain defensive positions. We hold this line no matter what." Captain Steve Williams commanded the outer perimeter. Aboard the UES Defender, his ship and a dozen others formed the first line of defense against the approaching crystalline beings. "All weapons armed and ready," he reported, "though I'm not sure what good they'll do." "Just buy us time, Steve," Jake replied. "That's all we need." The next hour passed with agonizing slowness. The artificial star continued to grow brighter as its quantum fields reached full power. The approaching crystalline beings moved like a tide of living light, beautiful and terrifying at the same time. "Sir, I'm detecting something else," Lisa said suddenly. "The ancient machines are responding too. They're moving toward our position." Jake felt his blood run cold. How many? 3 of them. They're still far away, but they're accelerating. If they reach us before we complete the sequence. She didn't need to finish. Everyone on the bridge understood. The ancient machines were planet-sized constructs with technology beyond human comprehension. If they arrived before the artificial star was ready, the entire fleet would be destroyed. Tom, how? Much longer? 15 minutes for quantum modulation. Then another 10 for the final synchronization. Lisa, time until the crystalline beings arrive? 12 minutes. And the machines? 40 minutes, maybe less. Jake did the math in his head. They would have to hold off the crystalline beings for at least 13 minutes while the artificial star completed its preparation. It seemed impossible, but they had come too far to give up now. All ships, prepare for contact. Remember, we're not trying to destroy them. We just need to keep them away from the artificial star. The first crystalline beings arrive like falling stars. They move through space with grace and purpose, their energy pattern shifting as they approach the human fleet. Captain Williams fired the first shot, a plasma burst that struck one of the entities directly. The plasma was absorbed instantly, making the being glow brighter, but it also seemed to cause confusion. The entity's energy patterns fluctuated wildly for a moment before stabilizing. Interesting, Lisa observed. The energy absorption isn't instantaneous. There's a brief delay while they process it. Can we use that? Jake asked. Maybe. If we can overload their processing capacity with multiple simultaneous hits, we might be able to stun them temporarily. All ships, concentrate fire on individual targets. Multiple hits on the same entity. The battle was unlike anything in human history. Beams of plasma and missiles filled space, all being absorbed by the crystalline beings. But the coordinated attacks had an effect. When multiple weapons struck the same entity at once, it would flicker and pause, momentarily overwhelmed by the sudden influx of energy. It wasn't much, but it bought them precious seconds. 7 minutes until quantum modulation is complete, Tom announced. The crystalline beings adapted quickly. They began spreading out, making it harder for the human ships to concentrate fire. Some of them started moving directly toward the artificial star, ignoring the fleet entirely. They figured out what we're doing, Lisa said. They're trying to reach the star before it's ready. Captain Amy Rodriguez, commanding the UES Unity, positioned her ship between the crystalline beings and the artificial star. Not on my watch, she said grimly. The Unity fired everything it had at the approaching entities. Plasma cannons, missile batteries, even the ship's emergency flares. The weapons had no lasting effect, but they caused enough disruption to slow. The beings downed other ships followed Rodriguez's example, creating a wall of fire between the crystalline beings and their target. It was a desperate tactic that wouldn't work for long, but every second counted. 3 minutes, Tom called out. The ancient machines were getting closer. Jake could see them on the long-range sensors, 3 massive shapes moving through space, like metal mountains. Their surfaces were covered in weapons that could probably destroy a planet. Sir, the artificial star is ready for final synchronization, Tom reported. Do it. The artificial star's glow intensified dramatically. The quantum field generators reached maximum output, creating an energy signature that Lisa had designed specifically to poison the crystalline beings' network. It's working, Lisa shouted. The crystalline beings are backing away. Their energy patterns are destabilizing. But their celebration was short-lived. The ancient machines had arrived. The first machine opened fire with weapons that turned space itself into a weapon. Reality twisted and warped around the energy beams. 2 human ships simply vanished, erased from existence. All ships retreat, Jake ordered. Get away from the artificial star. The fleet scattered as the ancient machines closed in. But the artificial star continued to pulse with its corrupted energy, sending waves of quantum poison through the crystalline beings' network. The real test was about to begin. Would their desperate plan work, Or had they just signed humanity's death warrant? The answer would come in the next few minutes, as ancient power met human determination in the darkness of space. Dr. Lisa Harper had not slept in 3 days. Her eyes burned as she stared at the quantum analysis displays in her laboratory aboard the UES Horizon. Around her, coffee cups and food containers littered every surface. Her hair was pulled back in a messy knot, and her uniform was wrinkled from hours of working in the same position. But she was close to something. She could feel it. "Lisa, you need to rest," Commander Jake Morrison said as he entered the lab. He carried a fresh cup of coffee and a sandwich, setting them down beside her workstation. "I can't rest, Jake. Not when I'm this close to understanding how they work." She pointed to the screen showing the energy patterns of the crystalline beings. "Look at this. The quantum signatures aren't random. They follow a mathematical sequence that's almost like music." Jake leaned closer to look at the display. The patterns did have a rhythm to them, flowing in waves that seemed to pulse with life. What does that mean? It means they're not just consuming energy blindly. They're processing it, transforming it into something specific. And if I can figure out what that something is, I might be able to disrupt the process. Across the lab, engineer Tom Bradley looked up from his own workstation. He had been working alongside Lisa for the past 2 days, trying to turn her theoretical discoveries into practical weapons. "I've been analyzing the quantum interference patterns Lisa discovered. If we can create a device that generates the exact opposite frequency, we might be able to cause a feedback loop in their energy absorption." "Like noise cancellation?" Jake asked. "Exactly. But instead of canceling sound waves, we'd be canceling their ability to process energy. The problem is generating a power to make it work on a large scale." Lisa rubbed her tired eyes. "That's where Tom's artificial star idea comes in. If we can create a controlled nuclear reaction with the right quantum signature, we could poison their entire energy network." Tom nodded enthusiastically. "It's brilliant, really. We use their own feeding behavior against them. They won't be able to resist feeding on the artificial star, but when they do, it'll corrupt their entire system." Jake felt a spark of hope. For the first time in days. How long would it take to build something like this? "That's the problem," Tom said. "We'd need resources from multiple ships, specialized equipment, and at least a week of construction time. We don't have that kind of time. What if we had help?" Jake asked. "What if every ship in the fleet contributed parts and personnel?" Lisa's eyes lit up. "It could work. But we'd need a way to coordinate the construction without alerting the crystalline beings. They seem to monitor our communications." "I might have a solution for that," Lieutenant Ben Carter said as he entered the lab. "I've been working on a quantum encryption method based on the energy patterns Lisa discovered. If we can match their communication frequency, we might be able to hide our transmissions within their own network." Jake smiled. This was what he loved about his crew. When faced with an impossible problem, they didn't give up. They found ways to turn disadvantages into advantages. "Ben, contact the fleet. Tell them we're implementing Operation Lighthouse. Every ship contributes what they can. Tom, start designing the artificial star device. Lisa, keep working on the quantum disruption theory. I'll coordinate with Earth Command." As his crew went to work, Jake walked to the bridge and opened the secure. "Channel to Admiral Brooks." The Admiral's face appeared on the screen, looking even more tired than Jake felt. "Jake, please tell me you have good news." "We have a plan, sir. It's risky, but it might work." Jake explained the artificial star concept and the quantum disruption device. Brooks listened intently, occasionally asking technical questions. "The theory sounds solid," Brooks said finally. "But you're talking about creating a weapon that's never been tested. What if it doesn't work? Then we're no worse off than we are now. But if it does work, we could cripple their entire network." "What do you need from me?" "Time and resources. We need every ship in the fleet to contribute materials and personnel. And we need to keep the crystalline beings from realizing what we're doing." Brooks nodded. I'll coordinate with the fleet commanders. But Jake, you need to know something. Captain Williams has sent another report from the Outer Rim. The ancient machines are accelerating their construction. Whatever they're building, it's almost complete. Jake felt his stomach drop. How much time do we have? Maybe 2 weeks before they start moving toward the inner systems. After that, nothing will be able to stop them. The communication ended, leaving Jake alone with the weight of responsibility. The fate of humanity rested on an untested weapon built from theoretical science. But it was the only chance they had. Over the next several days, the human fleet transformed into a massive construction project. Ships docked together, creating temporary shipyards in the void of space. Engineers worked around the clock, building components for the artificial star device. Scientists refined the quantum disruption theory, testing it on small samples of crystalline energy. Captain Amy Rodriguez had survived the destruction of the Proxima Research Station by hiding in an escape pod. She had drifted through space for days before being rescued by a patrol ship. Now she stood on the bridge of the UES Unity, watching the construction efforts with a mixture of hope and fear. It's incredible what we can accomplish when we work together, she said to Captain Danny Miller, the Unity's commanding officer. It reminds me of the old stories about building the first space colonies, Miller replied. Everyone contributing what they could, working toward a common goal. The difference is that failure then meant delays and cost overruns. Failure now means extinction. Miller nodded grimly. No pressure at all? The artificial star device was taking shape in the center of the fleet formation. It looked like a massive sphere covered in intricate geometric patterns. The patterns weren't just decorative. They were quantum field generators that will create the specific energy signature needed to poison the crystalline beings. Network. Tom Bradley floated in a spacesuit outside the device, making final adjustments to the quantum field emitters. Lisa, I'm reading some fluctuations in the field stability. Can you adjust the harmonics from your end? Working on it, Lisa's voice came through the comm system. Try increasing the phase variance by 0.03%. That's it. Field stability is holding steady. Inside the U's horizon, Lisa monitored the construction from her laboratory. The artificial star was more complex than anything humanity had ever built. It required precise calibration of dozens of quantum fields, each one tuned to a specific frequency that would disrupt the crystalline being's energy processing. How are we looking? Jake asked as he entered the lab. Good. Better than good, actually. The quantum field generators are working perfectly. If our theory is correct, this should create a cascade failure throughout their entire network. And if our theory is wrong, then we just built a very expensive bomb. Jake laughed despite himself. At least we go out with a bang. Actually, that's not far from the truth. If this thing destabilizes, it could create a quantum explosion that would take out half the fleet. Are you trying to make me feel better? I'm trying to be honest. This is dangerous, Jake. Not just for us, but for everyone in the fleet. If something goes wrong during the activation sequence, we could lose everything. Jake looked at the artificial star device through the lab's viewing port. It was beautiful in its own way, a testament to human ingenuity and cooperation, but it was also terrifying. They were about to test a weapon that can either save humanity or destroy what remained of their fleet. Lisa, in your professional opinion, what are our chances of success? She was quiet for a long moment. Honestly, I don't know. We're dealing with physics we barely understand, using technology we've never tested. But the alternative is certain extinction. So I guess our chances are better than they would be if we did nothing. That's good enough for me. Outside, the final components of the artificial star were being installed. In a few hours, they would transport it to the edge of the crystalline being's territory and activate it. Then they would find out if human ingenuity could overcome ancient power. The countdown to humanity's last desperate gamble had begun. The emergency session at Earth Command had been going on for 6 hours. Admiral Kevin Brooks sat at the head of the massive conference table, surrounded by the highest-ranking military officers, scientists, and government officials from across human space. The holographic displays around the room showed the grim reality they all face. Red dots marked the locations of consumed star systems. The pattern was clear and terrifying. The crystalline beings were moving in a straight line through the galaxy, consuming everything in their path. At the current rate, they would reach Earth in 37 days. The situation is worse than we initially thought, Dr. Patricia Kane, Earth's chief xenobiologist, said as she stood before the assembled group. Based on Commander Morrison's encounter, these beings aren't just randomly feeding. They're following a specific plan to awaken something much larger. General Robert Hayes, the head of military operations, leaned forward. These ancient machines they mentioned. Do we have any idea what we're dealing with? According to the energy readings from the horizon, the machines are massive. We're talking about constructs that could be the size of small moons. They've been dormant in the space between galaxies for millions of years, possibly longer. Admiral Brooks pulled up a tactical display. Colonel Santos, what are our defensive options? Colonel Maria Santos, a sharp-eyed woman who had earned her reputation in the Outer Rim conflicts, stood and activated her own display. Honestly, sir, our conventional weapons are useless. These beings feed on energy, which means our plasma cannons and missile systems would only make them stronger. We need to think outside the box. What about evacuation? Asked Senator John Mitchell, the civilian representative. Could we move the population to safer systems? There are no safer systems, Brooks replied grimly. These things are moving through the entire galaxy. Running would only delay the inevitable by a few months at most. The room fell silent as the weight of their situation settled over them. Humanity had faced many challenges throughout its history, but never anything like this. They were dealing with beings that had existed before Earth was even formed, with technology that seemed like magic. Sir, a young aide entered the room and whispered something to Admiral Brooks. The Admiral's face grew even more serious. Ladies and gentlemen, we've just received word from Captain Steve Williams in the Outer Rim. He's encountered the ancient machines directly. The main screen flickered to life, showing the bridge of the U-East Defender. Captain Williams appeared, his uniform torn and his face covered in sweat and grime. Behind him, his crew worked frantically at their stations. Admiral, we've reached the edge of the consumed zone. What we found here, it's beyond anything we imagined. The view shifted to show the Defender's external cameras. In the distance, massive geometric shapes moved through space. They were dark metal constructs, each one easily the size of a small planet. Their surfaces were covered in intricate patterns that seemed to shift and change as they moved. My God, Dr. Kane whispered. The machines are awakening, Williams continued. We've counted at least 12 of them so far, and there are more emerging from the void every hour. They're not just big, they're actively changing the structure of space around them. Stars that were consumed weeks ago are being reformed, but not as we know them. They're being turned into some kind of energy conduits. Energy conduits for what? Brooks asked. We don't know yet, sir. But whatever they're building, it's massive. The entire consumed region is being transformed into some kind of megastructure. The implications hit everyone in the room at once. The crystalline beings weren't just feeding randomly. They were harvesting energy to power a construction project on a galactic scale. Captain Williams, what's your current status? Brooks asked. We're maintaining distance, but these things have noticed us. I'm detecting energy signatures moving in our direction. We may have to retreat soon. Get out of there, Captain. We need that intelligence back here. Understood, sir. Williams out. The screen went dark, leaving the assembled group in stunned silence. The scope of what they were facing was almost impossible to comprehend. An ancient civilization with technology that could reshape entire regions of space. We need options, Brooks said finally. I don't care how crazy they sound. What? Do we have? Dr. Kane was the first to speak. The crystalline beings mentioned that they feed on energy, but every form of energy has a frequency. If we could find the right frequency, we might be able to disrupt their feeding process. How will we do that? We need to study them more closely, get samples, analyze their energy patterns. It's dangerous, but it might be our only chance, Colonel Santos nodded. I can organize a strike team. Fast ships, volunteer crews. We get in, gather data, and get out before they can react. What about the machines themselves? General Hayes asked. Even if we can stop the feeding, those things are already awake. One problem at a time, Brooks replied. If we can cut off their energy supply, maybe we can slow them down. Give us time to find a better solution. Senator Mitchell looked troubled. Admiral, the civilian population is starting to panic. Word is spreading about the star disappearances. We need to tell them something. Tell them the truth, Brooks said. Firmly, humanity has always been at its best when facing impossible odds. We don't lie to our people, especially not now. The meeting continued for another hour, with various departments reporting on their preparations. The military was mobilizing every available ship. Scientists were working around the clock to understand the threat. Engineers were designing new weapons and defensive systems, but everyone in the room knew the truth. They were facing an enemy that had existed since before human civilization began. An enemy with technology that could reshape reality itself. As the meeting broke up, Admiral Brooks remained behind with Colonel Santos and Dr. Kane. He pulled up a private communication channel and contacted Commander Morrison aboard the Horizon. Jake, how are you holding up out there? Morrison's face appeared on the screen. He looked tired but determined. We're learning a lot, sir. Lisa has been analyzing the energy patterns of the crystalline beings. She thinks she's found something important. What kind of something? Dr. Lisa Harper appeared beside Morrison. Admiral, these beings operate on a hive mind principle. They share information instantaneously across vast distances. But that also means they have a central coordination point. If we could locate and disrupt that point, we might be able to cause a chain reaction throughout their entire network. Where would this coordination point be? Based on the energy flow patterns, it would be at the center of their formation, probably near the largest concentration of the ancient machines. Colonel Santos leaned forward. How close would we need? To get? Close enough to insert a quantum disruption device directly into their network. It would be a suicide mission. The energy levels near their center would fry any ship that got too close. Brooks felt a heavy weight in his chest. Throughout his career, he had sent people into dangerous situations. But this was different. This was asking someone to sacrifice themselves for a plan that might not even work. There has to be another way, he said. Maybe, Harper replied. But we need time to develop it, time we don't have. The communication ended, leaving Brooks alone with his thoughts. Outside his office window, he could see the lights of Earth's cities. Billions of people going about their daily lives, unaware that their entire existence was about to end. He thought about his own family. His daughter lived on Mars with her children. His son was serving on a research vessel in the outer colonies. If humanity failed to stop this threat, they would all be consumed, transformed into energy to feed machines older than recorded history. But Brooks had not reached his position by giving up in the face of impossible odds. He had served in 3 wars, commanded fleets through battles that seemed hopeless, and always found a way to protect the people under his command. This time would be no different. Humanity would find a way to fight back, even if it meant sacrificing everything to do so. The real question was whether they could find that. Way before it was too late. In the depths of space, the ancient machines continued their work, reshaping consumed star systems into components of a vast design. They had waited patiently for millions of years, and now their time had come, but they had never encountered humans before. They had never faced a species that refused to accept defeat, that could find hope in the darkest circumstances, that could turn desperation into strength, The war for the galaxy was about to begin, and humanity was finally ready to fight back.